Welcome to Chanakya, where you get the right guidance at the right time. We have a situation from Anu, one which is often been encountered by project managers. Let's explore this with our experts, Srini and JV. Anu is managing a large development project. It is currently 4 weeks into system testing with planned user acceptance in 2 weeks' time. Guru, the PMO leader, has just completed the review of the project with Anu. He has declared the project in the red state, unviable to be shipped for user acceptance. The primary reason, with 2/3 of the system test complete, an unusually low number of defects have been detected in the project, with no evidence of any specific quality management practice correlating with that. Anu is terribly disappointed. She feels let down. Her concern, how do I tell this to my customer? Or can I even avoid telling my customer? So let me start with Srini first. Srini, is there anything that Anu could do to be prepared for handling this difficult conversation with the customer?
Ananth, it's interesting. I have run into 2-3 such instances in my career very similar to what Anu has gone to. So today I will probably anchor my inputs for Anu using one such story with Divya, a project manager.
Oh, that's interesting. You've gone through something similar. Let's hear the story.
One day Divya came running to my office and said, Srini, I want to speak to you right now. Okay. We've been in this project for 22 months. Things have been going fine. And today, Ashish from the PMO wants me to stop the project from going to UAT. Right? She feels she's on track and she would get the project in the next 3 weeks ready for the UAT. Just then my phone rang. Guess who was on the line? Ashish. Now, very interesting in this whole thing, right? The first thing I liked about this is the fact Divya had pride in her project. The next thing is she decided to confront this problem before the problem confronted her. Right? Imagine what would have been the situation if I had to call her up after Ashish had given me the lowdown. However, there's one interesting thing at this stage. She was still in a state of denial about this problem.
Srini, that's a different way of looking at the situation. You're looking at the emotional aspect. What happened next?
So the dialogue went on, and then Divya started to get a little more closer to this one and said, Srini, you know that in this project, many of the key customers retired, new faces have started coming in their end. The interfaces are not defined for a long time. They've been changing very often, right? And then me and my team have been slogging out multiple Saturdays away from our families to keep this project running green, right? And the management knows that they gave us a lot of rookies. The specialists came in much later in this project. Despite all this, we have reached where we are today.
So let me summarize from this part of the story, Srini. The PM had moved from a state of denial to a state of defense, right? And further, it looks like she is trying to de-risk the problem ownership by pulling in management and customer. However, she continues to stand by her team.
Let me continue with the story further, Ananth. So the next step was for me to get Divya to get into the next stage of it, right? So I asked Divya a simple question. Assume that I was the project manager on this project and you were Andrew, the customer director. Tell me what would be your thoughts and feelings at the point of time you hear this news. First, Divya was surprised with this question. After a brief pause, she said, Srini, most probably I will go ballistic. And she had a reason, because she knows just 3 weeks back, the director had gone and told the senior VP, this project is on time, right? So she had a very funny situation she knew on the other end. And on top of it, right, there's a lot of expectation on this project in the other end. Then she said, I will be pissed off with this company. I'm working with a level 5 company in India. I would never have expected this from them, right? I'm questioning the caliber of the team I'm having now, right? I probably would want to take them to task for having let me down. That will be my reaction. That's what Anu told me.
So just a few takeaways from what I heard from you. First is confront the problem before the problem confronts you, right? That's number one. And then get a senior person you trust to play your coach. Right? That's important. The reason is the coach can help you get your emotions out of the way, right? In fact, the coach can actually help you to go from a state of denial to a state of defense, right? And all the way to a state of empathy, where the project manager is able to put themselves in the shoes of the customer, right? So the person is now mentally prepared to face a difficult discussion beyond emotions. So it's half the problem solved, and that will make the problem less difficult. I'm curious to hear JV's perspective on this as well. JV, I'm sure you've seen PMs in similar situations. Does being mentally prepared make Anu's conversation with the customer easy?
By no means easy, certainly not. It probably makes it less difficult, less challenging. But Anu still needs to deal with a difficult customer, difficult situation. The customer is going to be very upset. She still needs to do a good call, have a good conversation, make sure that she does a good job of that.
I understand. So what would be your advice to Anu in terms of how to handle the actual call?
I have something very similar to what Srini was describing from a project situation. Because this was for a product for Unisys, who was one of our customers. 9-month project. We were 6 months into the project. We had done design, coding, code review, unit testing, everything. And the project was projected as green, green, green in terms of status every month, right? December time, end of November, we began the integration testing. And in 1 month, we're supposed to complete the integration testing and ship the alpha version of the product end of December, before Christmas. 2 weeks into integration, we realized the product won't integrate because we had made a massive amount of changes to the UI. It was kind of UI rewrite. So it wouldn't come up, the product wouldn't come up. And third week, we had the unenviable task of actually having to tell the customer that we were not going to be on time for the alpha version. So I talked to my manager. It was a very difficult situation. There are a few things that I did at that time that, if I look back, really were the key things that turned the project around, or that turned the situation around. The first was I actually took my manager into confidence. He knew exactly what was going on in the project, why we were in that situation, what we had actually done, and what kind of action plans we needed to put on place to ensure that we got back on track. He said he will be with me in the call with the customer. I think that was 50% off my shoulders in terms of a burden. Second thing, he actually said that don't be defensive in the call, right? Take it one step at a time, ensure that you are cool, let the customer know where we were, and don't get too defensive. That's one important thing that he actually mentioned. Simultaneously, I also was a little bit worried because I actually built a trust with this customer, and I thought I was actually betraying his trust. Then my manager said, no, nobody is betraying anybody's trust. You've done your best. And we are in this situation despite doing our best. And if there are things that we needed to do to get back the project on track, we needed to put in our best foot forward, right? So then I said, I'll go with the call. We had the call. It was not going to be an easy thing. The first few minutes were very nervous. I didn't know what I needed to say. But I had to communicate the information. The customer was very upset. I could see his, fortunately we didn't have a video call at that time. So I didn't have to see his face, but his voice told that he was going to have a difficult time with his manager. And he'd actually committed this to 2 or 3 of his customers, internal customers, for trying out the product. But after a couple of minutes, he realized that there was no going back on anything. He just said, what's the plan? So we actually started talking about what our action plan was to get things back on track. And we committed that we will be actually able to do this the next 2 to 3 weeks. The key thing is what happened after that is not important, but 2 or 3 things that actually made this conversation relatively easy. One is to be mentally prepared for it. I think Srini talked about that. Second thing is take your management into confidence, right? Your manager is your best in the line of defense actually for you. Third is to ensure that you're not defensive during the call, right? To appreciate what the customer is saying, be empathetic about what the customer is saying, right? Their situation. I think it's very important to do that. And fourth, you need to have an action plan. You need to be able to have a clear, articulated action plan to get the project back on track. That you need to discuss with the customer and get an agreement with him. I think if you're able to do these 3 or 4 things, you would be able to handle difficult situations reasonably well.
That's a fantastic story, JV, actually. And it's very similar to what Srini was saying. In both cases, very similar to what Anu, is facing. And I think the subtle difference there, in the case of the story that Srini narrated, the manager had to find a coach to guide her. And in your case, your manager acted as a coach. So that he doubled as a coach, and that's really, really good actually. And he was there with you all the way. When you meant support, he was there all the way with you. So it's very interesting. And it all comes down to managing one's own emotions, right? And in the end, it's all about self-awareness and empathy, right? So thank you, JV, and thank you, Srini, for sharing your thoughts. I'm sure project managers like Anu will find these experiential insights very useful. Thank you.